Reporting live from the shit mobile. You dig? Low key. And I say I am. This guy right here.
Out of it, we do have a much different America. And the question is, now that we really do have like these large
Yo, like my ritual now is like when I wake up, the first thing I do is listen to Nick Fuentes. That's my whole ritual. First thing I do in the morning is wake up. He's my favorite character in the show now, man. This dude has become my favorite character in the show. And there's nothing funny about enslavement. There's nothing funny about being homeless. Ain't nothing funny about your time being stolen from you, but if I don't laugh, you already know what's gonna happen. If I don't laugh, that's your ass. Let's have a real conversation. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know what's up with this dude, man. Like I don't know Nick Fuentes. I don't know his motives. Like what does he want from this? Does he want to run for office or some type of degree? Is he, has he been through so much shit that he's just like, fuck it, like, I'm just gonna be a truth teller? I don't know. Because it's like, unless I don't know his whole story. You know what I mean? A lot of these people, you have to catch them from the beginning, or you not gonna ever really be able to have, like, a real idea of what they're about. You know what I'm saying? If you don't know their history and shit. But every morning I wake up and I watch a Nick Fuentes clip. That's my ritual. And he motherfucker's telling a lot of truth, man. You know? Motherfuckers telling a lot of truth.
groups of different races in the country, can there be a brand new political order that's based on understanding? It's really about power. That's ultimately what it.
But a lot of these people, what they don't talk about, my phone is dying so fast, bro. I gotta go buy a new battery. My phone is literally just like dies so fast, man. It's insane. It's insane, dude. It's insane, dude. But what a lot of these people won't talk about, they won't take it, they won't go all the way and acknowledge that we can't save this system. They still try to save this system. They still try to save that we can do this. If we do this, the left does this or the right does this, we can save the system. You can't. You really can't. You have to create a new system, and it has to be based off. It can't be a system where one human being has damn near $500 billion. It can't work like that. And these people are pieces of fucking shit. Any human being that has enough money to literally solve world problems, or at least the problems of their entire country, within 24 hours, and they choose willingly year after year not to do it, you know what I mean? They're pieces of shit. It's as simple as that. They're pieces of fucking shit.
Down to.
This is the crossroads we're at as a country. Nick and a non-trivial percentage of people that are out there, young people, on the left and the right, see this as entirely a power game to be fought along ideological and specifically identitarian lines. And I don't want them to turn into shock troops that burn the country to the ground or ignite in reaction some kind of heinous civil war. Hey there, friends, fans, and foes of Dad Saves America. John Papola here. And, well, for and the French Revolution.
Democrat socialist president in 2028, and even UN supervision of America, according to a new poll from Rasmussen Reports and Justin
Where my baby
Haskins.
Whitney
The
Webb
stuff
at?
in here is incredible. 76% of young voters agree that major industries like healthcare, energy, and big tech should be nationalized to give more control and equity to the people, including a strong majority of young Republicans, over 70%. 53% would like to see a Democratic socialist candidate win the 2028 presidential election, including a huge amount, 35% of those who said they voted for Trump in 2024. 55% said they would support a law that would confiscate Americans' excess wealth.
Interesting what constitutes excess. When does your wealth become excess? And who determines that?
Including things like second homes, luxury cars, private boats, in order to help young people buy a home for the first time. Absolutely horrible stuff. There was even Trump voters, only 33% of them said no when offered a list of options of what to set an income cap at. So even Trump voters in the 18 to 39-year-old bracket want incomes cap. That's pretty socialistic. And so the trend, in my opinion, isn't that these people who voted for Trump are more conservative or more capitalistic or any of that. They basically want the system burned down because we aren't offering a better situation for them or speaking their language.
There is a massive gap taking place between our elites of all sorts and our young people and working class people and normal people. I'm both horrified by this and I also understand it. There's a lot of discontent. There is a lot of things in our society that feel fundamentally rigged and unfair, and actually are fundamentally rigged and unfair. And one aspect of this, and one outgrowth of it, is that for the past, let's say 15 years in particular, our sons, boys like my son, have been getting told crazy stuff. They've entered middle school in an era of both Me Too and sort of woke identity politics and been told that this is not their time. Our boys are getting bombarded by this every which way, but especially in school. But not just school, also in the workplace, also in the broader culture. Now, there's been a shift, but as this Rasmussen report points out, that shift might be more temporary than we would like for those of us that are happy that some of this woke reign of terror has seemingly come to at least a temporary end.
You said woke reign
One of
of
the
terror.
outcomes of this assault on our boys is the rise of voices and the mainstreaming of voices that frankly adopt the identity war mindset. And one of them is Nick Fuentes. Now, if you haven't heard of Nick Fuentes, because, you know, my audience looks a little like me, sort of older dads, he's a young guy who is a rising voice on the right, and he's starting to be re-platformed now that the censorship industrial complex has ebbed a little bit.
Censorship
just this week,
industrial
just a couple days
complex.
ago, on Dave Smith's podcast, and the thing already has 1 million views. It was instantly a gigantic hit.
Yeah,
Nick
this
is
dude went on fucking PBD and got almost 3 million views, man. But my problem is always like, yo, my phone is so hot right now, bro. My phone is so hot right now. Holy shit. This shit is broken. My phone is broke, bro. I just got this fucking phone, dog. I just got this fucking phone and the battery is done. I'm so done with Apple. I'm so done, bro. So done with iPhone, man. Where my baby Whitney Webb at? And that nigga Joe Rogan, he fucking said Whitney Webb had autism. When I see Joe Rogan, I'm smacking the shit out of him. Dead ass. Don't ever talk about my baby like that. If I ever see Joe Rogan, I'ma smack the fucking shit out of him, and then I'ma run, because I don't want that nigga to grab me. If that nigga grab me, it's over. Look at this. This my baby right here, man. I love me some
Jack
Whitney
shit
Webb,
around.
boy. I love me some Whitney Webb, Nick. Do some things on her. See if this video play. If I'm allowed to watch this.
The last time I spoke with this week's guest,
This
the
nigga right
great
here,
reason-
Glenn Beck, is a fucking weirdo, man. I don't fuck with Glenn Beck, bro.
was in full swing. Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum ruled
Man,
the
shut up,
rest of
bro.
pivot, Great Reset, and the World Economic Forum.
I just get mad because like niggas just sit around and talk about this shit. Niggas just sit around and literally niggas be having talk shows about the Great Reset, but don't be going outside doing a damn thing about the Great Reset. This shit is
Economic
crazy.
Forum and what they were doing.
This shit is absurd. This shit is absurd. Niggas sit, like, bro, niggas just sitting here talking about the niggas doing entertainment television programs about the Great Reset.
I have to ask you,
Like this
Has
shit
the
is
World
fucking
Economic
entertainment or something.
Forum been sacrificed?
crazy.
Did we win? Because it kind of went to the wayside, but I know they're not
Goofy shit,
gone.
man.
Klaus Schwab was exposed.
Sure, of course they're not.
Right, they're not gone. So have they just mutated? Is somebody else taking their place? Do they pass the torch? What is happening?
Yeah, so I would argue let's go back to what the WEF is by its own description. It's the premier promoter of the public-private partnership. So I think a lot of the policies that they attempt to sell people through the public sector, i.e. governments, was exposed, and I think they've gone to the other side of the public-private partnership and are trying to market some of their policies that are unpopular with significant segments, particularly in the West, via the private sector. I would.
Can you give me examples?
I think that's what's happening. Yeah, so I guess one example would be, let's take what's happening in Britain, for example, with the so-called Brit card and digital ID. So obviously there's been a lot of political pushback to that. From Keir Starmer, his intention to frame this as a way to solve illegal immigration, which is absolutely
Madness.
a ludicrous idea.
Yeah, madness.
Yeah, completely insane. And so, and then they of course come out and said that soon, it wasn't just limited to its use as an alleged work permit; it would expand to all facets of life. But actually, if you look at how the UN has labeled or has sort of laid out its plan really to have digital ID implemented at a global scale, it's not to have it be a centralized digital ID like the BRIC card has been proposed. Instead, it's meant to be a vendor agnostic system whereby you would have different vendors sell a digital ID type of platform. And so to the public would see it as decentralized and all these different private sector partners in digital ID that they have the illusion of choice between them, but really all that data is meant to be interoperable, and so that it can all be harvested off of any of these, different digital ID platforms and collated in a mass in a single database. Because ultimately, if you were to have something like BritCard, for example, happen, you would have all of the data be harvested into a single library, what Tony Blair's institute, for example, calls the National Data Library. Something like that. So you could have that
National
happen
Data
with Keir
Library.
Starmer's BritCard or something else.
Wow.
That it comes from, I don't know, five or six different companies offering different forms of digital ID, but all of that data could still be harvested from all of those different vendors because they all agree to specific standards. And if you look at some of these alliances about digital ID that were a focus during COVID, for example, like the ID 2020 Alliance, for example, they were all about getting all these different vendors of digital ID to agree to the same set of international standards so that they could harvest the data from any digital ID, no matter who makes it, and have it held in the same global centralized database. So there are different ways to get what they ultimately want, but it all comes down to public perception. So a colleague of mine who I've worked with closely on digital ID for a few years now, Ian Davis, recently wrote about what's going on in the UK, and he's based there. And he posited that maybe what Keir Starmer is doing is actually a bait and switch, that to create all this unpopularity about this style of digital ID, but then someone later could come in riding the wave of the discontent that this is creating and then offer a new solution, which would be more along the lines of what I just described, which is actually how the UN itself and SDG 16, which is the SDG that includes digital ID, you know, the roadmap laid out there is not the same as the one laid out by Keir Starmer. So in that, you still have a public-private partnership, right? But it would be the private leading as opposed to the public leading. And what we're seeing come out of the UK right now is being sold as a public leading thing, and it's grossly unpopular. And I think they're a lot smarter than people give them credit for. I mean, they're fundamentally very manipulative, and they want us to get stuck with the same policy, but they're very apt at selling it different ways, and they know that they've become very unpopular with large segments of the population. And so, you know, like a chameleon, they have to take a different form, but ultimately the goal is to lead people to the same type of, you know, technocratic Orwellian system.
A couple of things. First of all, I have for years.
My phone is fucking already about to die, so I don't know, bro. I really wanted to fucking throw this. I want to smash this fucking phone on the floor so bad, bro. Be done with technology. Be done with this fucking round. But definitely check out Whitney Webb. I'm about to watch the rest of this fucking video right now. This shit is an hour and a half. But yeah, fuck Joe Rogan. He's a bitch ass nigga in real life. He was never a truth seeker. Never will be. For disrespecting my baby Whitney Webb, man. Talking about she got autism and shit. You fucking bitch, you. Wait till I see you, Joe Rogan. Yeah, man, we up out of here. This piece of shit phone is on fire.